Are you looking for an opening that nobody knows about in order to destroy your opponents and let them cry on the chessboard? Don't search anymore. Here is your future favorite opening, the Croon's Gambit. Most of the time, when you think about a good opening, it takes the control of the center, right? But here, you will have to play h4, the cat is opening. It's not a popular choice, because it weakens the kingside's castle, but we don't care about it. Most of the time, your opponent will play e5. Again, when you think about a good opening, you think you should develop something, right? Again, we don't care about that, and we play h5. The best move, and also the most common move, for black, is d4. Do you play d4 to take advantage on the center now? Wrong again. We play h6, the Croon's Gambit. And, by now, what's your plan? First, if you can push your pawn, you do so. Since casting on the king side is not a good idea due to your h-pawn, you will have to develop your pieces on the queen side to castle. To do so, you must play d4. Then, if a poor knight takes your h-pawn when you push it, take it with your bishop. Otherwise, bring out your knight to c3. If your opponent really don't want to take your pawn, put your bishop on f4. If you can, push your queen 1 or even 2 squares away to keep her safe. And finally, you can castle. That's your game plan. Really simple, right? Sometimes, you will find a crazy opponent who plays h6 to prevent your sacrifice. You can't push our h-pawn anymore, but that's not a problem at all. Skip step 1 and play d4. Black will obviously take your pawn and you take back with your queen. Most of the time, your opponent will attack it. Check your opponent, trade the queen if they bring their queen out and follow the main plan. But remember that your opponent's best and most common move is d4. You can finally push your pawn. Here, black will always take your pawn with his knight. Remember the main plan and play d4. Now, your opponent has 5 main options. The 2 most common choices are mistakes for him, and that's really good for you. The first bad option, but also the most played one, is to push the e-pawn. According to the plan, you really should take the poor knight on the rim. Your opponent takes back, push your e-pawn and look at the destroyed king side you let to your opponent. The second bad option is to take our d-pawn. You do the same as before, but now you will mix the steps of your plan. Take the free pawn. Since you are attacking his rook, your opponent will have to move it to g8. Now, bishop g7 is winning a pawn by a skewer towards your queen. Use your knight as a shield. If he still plays bishop g7, trade the queens. After the trade, you castle and your plan is done. But here comes the problems if he plays knight f5. You take the pawn they let to you. Most of the time, you will see a bishop coming to e6 to attack our pawn in the future. Here, you really should defend your pawn because he will get attacked. But sometimes, your opponent will attack your pawn first. Defend it as before. If your opponent plays his bishop to weaken your f-pawn, don't get scared and follow the main plan. After that, your opponent will play bishop e6 and you get the same position as before. All you'll have to do is to follow the plan. In case your opponent plays knight g4 instead, defending his pawn, kick the knight. He really should go back. Now, follow the plan and push your e-pawn to unblock you bishop. The best move for black is to play knight c6. You follow the plan. After that, you will notice your pawn is attacked twice. Therefore, you will have to defend it. It's better to do so with the c-pawn, because if your opponent takes it, you will have one more central pawn when you take back. Back to the first move. The best move for black is d4. Again, you push your pawn in order to sacrifice it. Most of the time, your opponent will play e4, and we got the same position as before. Sometimes, your opponent will play h6, preventing your sacrifice again. Follow the plan and play d4. Most of the time, your opponent will play knight f6. You really should play c3, because your opponent will attack your pawn after that. Bring your knight out. Black is more likely to bring his other knight out. The best move for you is knight e5, trade pawns. You attack your opponent's knight, and he can't really trade the knights, because after your pawn takes, his knight will get attacked. Whatever they play, unless it's the knight trade, you follow the plan again. Sometimes, your opponent will play knight c6. A move that caused me some headaches to find is to sacrifice your c-pawn. Most of the time, your opponent takes your pawn. Attack the knight. Your opponent will retreat it, and now, look at your center dominance. The best move for your opponent is to sacrifice his c-pawn. Follow the plan. In case black takes, simply take back with your queen. The best move for black is to play knight f6. The best response for you is to sacrifice your e-pawn to strike the center. Now, there are two possible ways the game can continue. Most of the time, your opponent will have a lack of brain and take your d-pawn. Again, take back with your queen. Black is more likely to attack your queen. In order not to lose her, you must pin his knight. Here, the best move for black is to take your e-pawn. Develop your knight on the king side and hope your opponent won't pin it. But here, your opponent's best move is to pin in, take the free c-pawn, trade the queens, and have a great match. And here is an example game between two high-graded players with an analysis to make you understand better.
Well, there's a will, there's a way, kinda beautiful. And every night has a state so magical. And if there's love in this life, there's no obstacle that can't be defeated. For every tyrant to tear for the vulnerable, in every loss, so the bones of a miracle. For every dreamer, a dream we're unstoppable, with something to believe in. Monday left me broken. Tuesday I was through with hoping. Wednesday my empty arms were open. Thursday waiting for love, waiting for love. Thank the stars it's Friday. I'm burning like a fire gone wild on Saturday. Guess I won't be coming to church on Sunday. I'll be waiting for love, waiting for love to come around.
And here, black resigned. Now, are you convinced by the Croon's Gambit?